All right, now let's get into it. Welcome, CASA. We're not going to ask for opening statements. We're running tight on time, so good to see you. And I'll go questions. Senator Canavan, Mackenzie?
No, I don't have any questions, but maybe Jess, do you want to go first?
Yeah,
Senator
Jess.
Collins?
She's been waiting patiently.
You open the batting, off you go.
Thank you very much, Chair. My question's on the flight training issues for CASA. Do you accept that, due to current regulations, pilots are now required to conduct 2 checks per year in each aircraft type that they fly? Is that correct?
Senator Pip Spence, CEO, Director of Aviation Safety, CASA. Yeah, we actually provided some information to Senator Colbeck from the last one, so yes, that what you said was correct.
So given it to me too. Okay, so given that some pilots can fly up to 4 different types, this would mean 8 checks per year. If you were, for example, to fly 4 different types of aircraft, you would have to do 8 checks per year. That's correct?
I think that's correct.
Yeah, Senator Andreas Marcellia, Executive Manager, Stakeholder Engagement and Flight Crew Licensing sits within my portfolio. So my understanding is that twice yearly check is only required for commercial air transport operations, so it's not for everyone. And it's usually done as part of an operator's proficiency check. So an operator, an airline, would typically put their crew through those kind of checks. Whether it's on a specific aircraft type individually, I'd have to check for you, but it's generally done as part of an operator's program. So
the commercial pilots, if you fly in different aircraft, for each aircraft you have to do 2 checks per year?
2 checks per year, air transport, yep.
Okay. Do you accept that on aircraft that are not supported by a simulator in the country, so if you don't have a simulator for that particular aircraft, pilots are forced to repeat dangerous simulated engine failure manoeuvres in every aircraft type that they fly, which multiplies the risk for pilots who operate more than one type?
Senator, I might see if my colleague, Mr Campbell, might have any information on that. The way that you're posing the questions, I wouldn't mind taking it on notice because we don't have the information in front of us, and I'm just worried we're going to say that it's exactly as you've described it, and we just need to, particularly around the actual numbers that we're talking about here. But I think Mr Campbell can certainly answer on the simulator question.
Yeah. Hi, Senator Steve Campbell, Executive Manager, National Operations and Standards. We've had in place for many years, which is an international standard, that above a certain size of aircraft, generally transport category aircraft, the requirement is to use simulators. That's standard. And below that, there's an option that if it's available in Australia, they can use it in Australia.
Okay. Simulators are very costly. My understanding is around $1 million for a simulator.
I'd say a lot more.
A lot more than that. So if you're a small general aviation company, you're not really going to be able to put your money into a simulator. So if you don't have access to a simulator, then you're going to have to do this in a real-life situation.
Well, if
in a practice training situation.
Yeah, I think it depends what you call in general aviation. So the smaller general aviation that we know at below 5,700 kilos won't be required to use simulators.
Yep.
But for other aircraft that are in that sort of scope that require simulator training, that's been in force for many decades.
Yep. So, but you are expected to repeat it twice a year to do these dangerous manoeuvres. That's correct?
The emergency training, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So can you also confirm that in more than 20 years there have been 0 fatal real turbine engine failure accidents during takeoff or missed approach? So none in real life, but multiple fatalities during training?
I don't have that detail in front of me, sorry, Senator.
All right.
But
Senator, I'd be very happy if you've got a specific example that you would like us to provide more information on. We'd be very happy to take that on notice, because I don't think we do anything that's dramatically different to what other national aviation authorities do in this space, and we are genuinely, if there's specific examples you've got of where someone's got raised an issue with you, we'd be very happy to look into that into detail.
I do. I actually have a snapshot of some very specific examples of where pilots have died while doing these training checks. So in 1995, 2 pilots died doing a takeoff decision speed cut in Tamworth. In 2003, 2 pilots died doing a loss of control asymmetric practice in Bankstown. In 2010, 2 pilots died doing a simulated takeoff decision speed cut in Darwin. In 2017, 3 pilots died doing a simulated engine failure after takeoff in Renmark in South Australia. In 2019, 2 pilots died doing a simulated engine failure after takeoff in Mareeba in Queensland. And in 2025, just a few months ago, 2 pilots died doing a proficiency check. It's still under investigation. One was a very experienced training officer and another a commercial pilot. So in total, of the ones that I've been able to find on open source, it's 13 people that have died doing very risky manoeuvres as part of the training checks. And my understanding is that now they have to do more of them across a lot of different types of aircraft. So would you accept having the understanding of that and also the understanding that, you know, pilots are dying practicing failures that almost never kill any pilots in real life, you know, you're forcing repeated exposure to known fatal risk manoeuvres, and that contradicts the requirements to reducing risk?
Senator, what I would say is I'd like to go through the details, go through the information in a bit more detail than that. I totally understand we lost one of our own CASA employees as one of those people that you mentioned in those numbers, so it is something we take very seriously and we have looked at it. There's I suppose with everything there is that need to make sure that people have had that proficiency checking, but I'm happy to go through the numbers that you've provided in a bit more detail and also explain why we're doing what we're doing. Let's take that on notice, Senator.
Thank you. That does lead me to my next question, Ms Spence. Can you point to any evidence showing that repeating the same manoeuvres across aircraft types saves lives instead of risking them?
I don't have that with me, Senator, no.
Do you accept that piloting hand skills required to safely manage asymmetric flight and simulated engine failure manoeuvres are fundamentally the same across different aircraft types and systems? And
that's why I'd like to take the original answers we gave you and look at those just to make sure that we're not speaking at cross purposes about what we're actually requiring people to do.
Okay. Have you looked at modernising your training requirements? My understanding is that this legislation is based on technology, aircraft technology from the 1970s. Have you looked at modernising the legislation so that you can look at actually the safety features of the aircrafts that pilots are flying these days?
I think that it's an excellent suggestion. We're constantly looking to see how we can improve things. There's a lot of work that's being done through the International Civil Aviation Organisation, also looking at more competency-based training rather than repeating similar kind of activities. It's not the we don't have any obvious answers for the issues that you're raising, but we are always willing to engage with industry if they've got suggestions about how we can do things better.
Okay. And just to sort of come back to the question of notice that I submitted, have you ever counted the number of pilots killed in training while doing these exercises?
I don't have that number. My colleague has pointed out to me that based on the information we provided, there have been 4 accidents and the four flights resulted in 8 fatalities.
Okay, so the numbers that I managed to get in open source was a lot higher than that.
Yeah.
So is it the responsibility of CASA to be tracking this? I mean, these are pilots that are doing the things that you're asking them to do, and now more often, repeatedly every year. And look, these pilots are people with children.
Yeah.
Okay? They're people with children, and you're making them do more tests, and they're very, very risky tests. These single-engine go-arounds can kill them instantly. And it is, that this stuff happens in real life. It's almost zero chance. And you're making some of these pilots do it 8 times a year, and they have families.
Senator.
So if another pilot dies performing a mandatory simulated engine failure, will CASA accept responsibility for creating that risk?
Senator, we'll look at the information you provided. Obviously, it's always distressing when there are fatalities, and as I said, CASA felt it very strongly when we lost one of our own. And I totally understand what you're saying about real life. These are lives that they've lost their family, they've lost their future. We'll see what the ATSB recommends as a result of their investigation, which is currently underway for the most recent accident. And as I said, we'll look to see the details. But as we've said, we don't just make these things up to put people at risk.
Okay, thank you. I do have some questions on drones, but I might pass and then come back if we've got time.
Question to that, if that's right, Chair. So, I think it was about 18 months ago, I raised a specific issue about landing fields in the Torres Strait, and CASA had made a change, not based on any demonstrated risk, and I warned then that somebody would die, and 3 weeks later somebody did. So I think what Senator Collins is raising is something, an issue that I think I would be saying we will stop this requirement immediately while we demonstrate that this is actually a safe requirement, as opposed to saying we're going to wait until somebody else it's the reverse the onus of proof. So I would stop doing it immediately because, as you say, at least 8 people have died, possibly more. I think Senator Collins has raised a really serious issue that unless you can demonstrate why you would continue with this practice, you should stop immediately.
I would want to have a little bit more information. I'm not being disrespectful to the Senator, but I'm not going to make a call on the basis of a conversation here. I do take it very seriously, and the way the Senator's put it obviously makes me feel, it's the challenge that those of us who work in CASA really feel very strongly, that we change something and someone dies because we've changed it the same way we don't change it and someone dies. It is an incredible balance that we are trying to
It seems
reach.
unlikely somebody would die from not having had a repeated test.
But the other side of it, Senator, is knowing someone is proficient in it might actually save their life. So
right, well,
there is the two sides.
Having lived through CASA refusing to take industry advice on something I raised and somebody died 3 weeks later, I'm with Senator Collins.
I hear you.
I think I would be saying to your team, you better prove to me why we should continue doing this.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you.
Now, are there any further ones bearing in mind we are tight for time? Is there any more questions?
Very quick ones for CASA. It'll be very quick. And I think there might be some others on drones. Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to check with you. We heard this morning confirmation of a letter from the Department of Finance, or Minister for Finance, I should say, seeking savings measures, reported to be at 5%. Has the Department, the Minister, the Minister's Office, anyone spoken to CASA about those potential savings?
No, Senator.
Are you exempt from these kinds of efficiency dividends?
We're not exempt from efficiency dividends, no, Senator. Okay,
so you're not sure yet whether this reported 5% cut will apply to yourselves?
No, Senator, though I do note that we are majority funded by industry through the fuel excise, so it would be a smaller proportion if it was a 5%.
So any efficiencies would typically only relate to the
government appropriations.
Okay. Yeah. Roughly what proportion of that is of your budget?
Look, I think it's about $40 million in government appropriation out of a $220 million
about
budget.
20% or so.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll leave it there, but I think there was more questions on drones.
Yeah, I can just go very quickly through that. Thank you.
Yep.
Is that okay, Chair? Thank you very much. What is the process for regulating and approving drone manufacturers?
We had a great inquiry into this about 6 or 7 years ago.
And part of it will depend on the size of the drone that we're talking about, I think, as well, in terms of the certification process.
Generally speaking, the smaller drones, we don't regulate the manufacturing of them. Once you get up into the larger drones, which we call above 150 kilos, that's when you have to have the drone certified, and that's when all those sort of normal certification rules kick in.
Okay. Is there a difference between civil and military drone testing regulations?
I'm not aware of the defence requirements, but
in terms of you approving...
We don't approve defence drones, no.
No, okay. So even if the drones are used for both civil and military purposes, it's just civil. Okay.
Well, if it's by the Defence Force, the Defence Aviation Safety Authority.
Yeah, that's right. DASA.
DASA,
yeah. How long does it take to approve drone testing? And do you have any benchmarks or guidelines on how long that should take?
Drone testing.
Sorry, to approve the drone. To approve the drone for. It's got to get for the licence to be able to fly it, right? So that comes through you guys. You've got to be able to.
So I think, Matt, that's going to...
Yeah, good evening, Senator. Matthew Patel, Executive Manager of Regulatory Oversight. So I guess there's two sides to this. There's the drone certification, as my colleague Mr Campbell mentioned, but in terms of approving or assessing and approving drone activity, that's, I guess, because of the variability in the kinds of drone applications that we get, it sort of depends, I guess, on what the activity is. Certain activities such as complex beyond visual line of sight can take some time, and that's not just the time spent with CASA but also clarifying with the industry member as well. So it's a very large scale.
Okay.
We do have on our website now all our service level standards for all our regulatory services, including for RPAS drone operations. We're conscious of the fact that we're probably too slow, and we're working to see how we can actually reduce the amount of time. So just recently we introduced the beyond visual line of sight broad area approval, which allows an operator to actually, we approve them and then they can approve their BV loss operations, and that's been saving quite a bit of time and effort on our part.
So I have heard from a drone manufacturer in New South Wales, a couple of them actually, that the approval times have been extraordinarily long, and it's putting significant pressure on the industry to be able to maintain. So I'm just wondering, is there an issue with the number of staff at CASA, or is it just that these things are too complex? How do you have a plan for speeding up the process? How does it?
Yeah. So I think this is, as Mr Butel was saying, I think it's more around the RPAS operators rather than manufacturers we're hearing this more from. It's a combination of significant growth in the number of RPAS operators in Australia. We now have more people with a remote pilot licence compared to traditional aircraft pilots. Doing lots of new things that we haven't seen before. So each time you get an application in, and the first time you're actually dealing with it takes a lot of time. And as we get more familiar with it, I think we've got some questions about what do we actually need to do to support safe outcomes, as opposed to this is the way we've always done it. So between Mr Butel and Mr Campbell, we're looking at what are the ways that we can actually reduce the things that we actually need to provide approvals on, and how we can actually approve the operator and let them then making sort of more of those operational decisions. But our first point was actually, well, let's be upfront with industry and tell them how long it's actually taking us at the moment to help them plan around it.
Okay, thank you. That's it from me. I just, on the first issue, I was just wondering whether, sort of follow up to all of that, whether you'll be getting back to us on those issues and whether you're going to pause, review the process and train and so forth.
We'll look at it. We'll look at it quickly. I do take it very seriously.
Thank you. So before Christmas, will it be?
We'll try as we can. We'll certainly be talking about it, and if there's any changes, I'll make sure that we let this committee know.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Okay, that's it for CASA.